Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Law in Motion. Did you know that one court case brought centuries of conflict, political drama, and faith to a decisive legal conclusion? This is the story of how one judgment redefined the landscape of Indian law and culture forever. The Ayodhya Dispute, one of the most monumental legal battles in India's history. The story of Ayodhya is one that has spanned centuries, a place where history, faith, and conflict have converged for generations. At the heart of this story lies a single, sacred site. Ayodhya, believed to be the birthplace of Lord Ram, has been a focal point of devotion for Hindus. Yet, on this very spot, for over 400 years, stood the Babri Masjid, constructed in 1528 by the Mughal general Mir Baqi, under the orders of Emperor Babur. For centuries, the Babri Masjid stood undisturbed, a testament to Mughal architecture and Muslim prayer. But beneath the surface, a deep conflict was brewing, tied to the faith and identity of millions of Hindus who believed that this was no ordinary piece of land. This was Ram Janmabhoomi, the birthplace of their revered deity. The dispute slowly gained political attention in the 1940s, becoming a symbol for both religious and political movements. But it wasn't until December 6, 1992, that history changed forever. On that fateful day in 1992, a mob of Kar Sevaks demolished the Babri Masjid in broad daylight, igniting one of the most violent communal riots in modern Indian history. The nation was in shock. Riots erupted across the country, leaving thousands dead and countless more displaced. The destruction of the mosque didn't just shatter a centuries-old structure, it deepened a communal divide that had already plagued India for decades. After years of political chaos and legal battles, the dispute was taken to the courts. What started as a local property dispute transformed into one of the most significant legal cases in Indian history, embroiling the courts, politicians, and religious leaders alike. For nearly 3 decades, the Ayodhya dispute moved through the labyrinth of Indian courts, until it finally reached the Supreme Court in 2019. The nation awaited the judgment, one that would define the course of religious freedom, constitutional rights, and India's secular fabric. This was not just a legal battle, it was a struggle over history, identity, and the very soul of India. Now, I know legal jargon can get confusing, but don't worry, I'm here to break it down for you. The Ayodhya dispute wasn't just any ordinary land dispute. No, it was much deeper than that. It involved centuries of religious sentiment, questions of faith, legal ownership rights, and even constitutional law. At the heart of this case, the Supreme Court had to decide who legally owned the 2.77 acres of land in Ayodhya. On one side, we had the Sunni Waqf Board, representing the Muslim community, arguing that the Babri Masjid stood on this land for over 400 years. On the other side, several Hindu organizations, led by Mahant Suresh Das, claimed that the land was the birthplace of Lord Ram. But the question wasn't just about religious belief. It was also about legal ownership and possession. The Supreme Court had to decide, was the land legally owned by the Muslims because the Babri Masjid stood there for centuries, or did the Hindus have a historical and religious right to it because of their deeply held belief that Lord Ram was born there? The court had to juggle several complex questions. First, ownership, who had the legal title to the land? Second, possession, who had control over the land throughout history? And finally, faith versus law, how much weight should religious belief hold in a legal dispute over land? In order to resolve these issues, the court examined centuries of historical evidence, religious texts, and legal documents. They had to strike a balance between faith and the rule of law, a delicate task in a country as diverse as India. But it wasn't just about history. The court also had to look at how the land was used over time. Who maintained it? Who worshipped there? And in 2019, the justices finally brought it all together to issue a landmark decision. So how did the court balance these competing claims of history, faith, and law? Let's dive into their groundbreaking ruling. November 9, 2019. After decades of courtroom battles, historical wounds, and nationwide protests, the day had finally come. Inside these walls, the Supreme Court of India was about to deliver a verdict that would resonate across the nation and the world. This was no ordinary case. For 134 years, the dispute over the land in Ayodhya had been a flashpoint between two communities, Hindus, who believed this was the birthplace of Lord Ram, and Muslims, for whom the Babri Masjid had stood on this land for over 4 centuries.
It was announced that the land would be handed over for the construction of a Ram temple, and in the interest of justice, the Muslim community would be granted 5 acres of land at an alternate location in Ayodhya for the construction of a mosque.
This decision wasn't just about land, it was about something much deeper. It was about faith, history, and the future of India's secular fabric. For the Supreme Court, this wasn't merely a question of property. It was about the delicate balance between the rights of two religious communities. The court's aim was clear: to heal centuries of division, while upholding the rule of law. For some, the verdict brought closure. For others, it opened new questions about the role of religion in public life. But in this one moment, the Supreme Court of India sought to restore peace, to balance justice and faith, and to pave a path toward reconciliation. The Supreme Court's decision on Ayodhya didn't just bring an end to one of India's longest legal battles, it affected the lives of millions. After decades of uncertainty, violence, and communal tension, for many, the verdict brought a sense of closure. For the Hindu community, the ruling marked the fulfillment of a deeply held belief, a centuries-old dream of building a Ram temple at the sacred birthplace of Lord Ram. Families across the country celebrated the court's decision, seeing it as a triumph of faith. But for many in the Muslim community, the verdict was bittersweet. While they respected the court's decision, the loss of the Babri Masjid, which had stood for centuries, remained a deep wound. Still, the court's order to allocate 5 acres for a new mosque gave some hope for reconciliation. And what about the younger generation? For them, this ruling wasn't just about religion or faith, it was about India's future. Many saw this as an opportunity for healing, but others questioned what the verdict meant for the future of secularism in the country. Can a single judgment truly resolve centuries of religious conflict, or does it risk deepening divides? The Ayodhya verdict didn't just end a legal dispute, it sparked new debates about the role of religion in public life. Can we, as a country, move beyond this? Or will the scars of history continue to shape our future? What do you think? Did the court strike the right balance? Or could it have been different? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective on this landmark case. So, what can we learn from this case? First, the Ayodhya verdict showed us that legal systems can bridge centuries-old divides if they focus on justice over faith. Second, it reinforced the principle of constitutional morality, balancing legal rights with religious beliefs. Finally, the judgment reaffirmed that in a country as diverse as India, the law must serve as the great equalizer, ensuring that all communities feel represented and heard. These lessons aren't just for lawyers or judges, they're important for every citizen, because this case was about more than just law. It was about India's future. The Ayodhya case was not just a verdict, it was a turning point in Indian history. And while it resolved one of the country's longest-standing disputes, it raised many questions about the role of religion, law, and politics in modern India. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Ayodhya dispute, hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into India's most important legal cases. Let me know in the comments, what case should we cover next? And remember, justice isn't just a word, it's a story, and we're here to tell it.